Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Oldford. This guy is a freaking powerhouse, full of just light, of empowerment, of literal strategies to scale you and your business. So definitely stick around. It's going to blow your mind wide open. He's just an awesome human being. So before we dive into that, I want to say thank you for choosing to be and become your greatest possible self, for showing up today with us here to grow yourself and just keep taking one step at a time. That's how we transform humanity. Let's keep going. Next up is our iTunes review of the week. It's by P. Cully this week. Great podcast, informative and educational. Love the energy and effort that goes into this marathon. Tune in and see what I am talking about. P. Cully, thank you so much for that review. And if you want a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream marathon podcast, go to beergps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on the Apple Podcast Store and give us a review. Let us know what you love, what you want to see more of, and how we can improve the show for you. Definitely hit that subscribe button while you're there so you can keep getting all these great interviews like Scott, who's about to come on. Tear it open. Tear your paradigm wide open so you can be your GPS. So definitely stick around. I'm going to be introducing him in just a second. Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. This dude is constantly giving away just such great information. He works on Google Docs like live, so you can go in and see what he's creating. He's just a master creator. Just love this guy. So I'm going to bring him on in just a second. Make sure you stick around because one idea has the power to change everything for you. Scott Oldford is a mentor, investor, and advisor for successful online businesses. He's also the creator of the R.O.I method, the 6-pillar framework, and REwired, all systems that help entrepreneurs scale their businesses and generate sustainability. After successfully developing 9 companies, Scott has mentored thousands of entrepreneurs and helped many businesses reach the multi-million-dollar mark. Scott's work has been viewed by millions of entrepreneurs and has been featured online in Forbes, Inc., Success, Entrepreneur, Money Magazine, Fortune, Business Insider, and ABC. He lives in Northern California with his wife, Libby Crow, a fellow entrepreneur and podcast host of Behind the Dream, and their long-haired dachshund, I don't know how to pronounce that, Cooper. They live with Cooper, and we are going to have a blast here today. Scott, are you ready to bring the heat, my man?
What's up, brother?
Oh, dude, we are just up. We're lit, and we are going to be diving into this theme of today, which is home is blank. Scott, what does home mean for you, man?
Home is peace. Yeah. And more recently the forest. Nature. Yeah, I've been really enjoying. I grew up in the forest. So I think home is where your ego is dead as much as possible. And that's nature for me, because it's like, how important really am I when you're in the forest, when you're in the mountains, when you're surrounded by the creation of the universe? You're like, I'm significant and not significant all at the same time.
Damn.
So I like
that. Hey, man, Scott, I love it. Dude, let's dive into the work that you're doing with businesses today, bringing consciousness and business scaling and growth together. Like, tell us about that. What do you stand for around businesses, man?
Well, I mean, so, and this is, you said 3 of my frameworks. I'm working on a 4th one. I kind of got a running joke right now where it's like, if there's not a new framework every 18 months, something's wrong. and so, I look at, so first off, I think that most business doesn't really come from necessarily a conscious place. I think that most, entrepreneurs, most entrepreneurs are born from massive levels of trauma. Because like you got to be a little bit crazy in order to be an entrepreneur. And so, I look at the billionaires, and you look at Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and like all of the people that people like, look up to, and like they're driven by a pretty high degree of trauma in their life. If you look at Steve Jobs' biography, if you look at Elon Musk, or even just how Elon Musk is, and that's not to say that that's a bad thing, like that they're working out their own trauma by building billion-dollar businesses. But having, done that myself, having built, multiple, almost a dozen 7-figure businesses of myself, many of them multiple 7 figures, and most of them because of my trauma and because of my insecurities and because of all that stuff.
Yeah.
I look around and I'm like, I start asking myself the question. I'm like, can we actually build a business in a conscious way, or does it actually require us just to like put our head in the sand and will our way into it, right? And so then I've been thinking about this for 2 years now, and I'm like, because my real, I feel like one of my things that I'm like supposed to do here on earth is like go through the hard path and then tell everybody else how not to do that.
Not to do, yeah.
Right. And so it's kind of like I'm the parent to the entrepreneur. And so the reason why entrepreneurship is so hard is because most people don't really, like, they're not learning from people that actually have done it before. They're not learning it from, they're not actually looking at other people's success and being like, okay, well, what worked for them and then what works for me. And then I see, in this entrepreneurship world, building a business consciously is about building a business for you, for your actual customers, and for like your future self. And then kind of coming back and being like, okay, how can I actually build a business and slow down and build it with intention and bring presence and awareness and attention to everything that's going on in my world, so that I'm not just like, most entrepreneurs are like chickens. They're just pecking around. They're pecking, right? Most entrepreneurs are chickens. And I used to have chickens on my farm, so I'm allowed to say that. And that was my first
you're well versed with the behaviors of chickens.
I'm very, very well versed with behaviors. And so a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't bring consciousness because they get started. They get started because they either are inspired. They had a moment where they're like, never again will this happen.
Yep.
They or they're just like, they end up becoming an entrepreneur kind of by mistake, which is what happened to me.
Yep.
And so most of the time, then, debt happens, entrepreneur life sucks, I mean, it really does. It's not like an easy game by any stretch of imagination. And so all these things happen. And so you sort of like get out of being present, you get out of being conscious, you start making decisions just because of, who on your Instagram feed's telling you to make decisions, people like guys like me. Right. And so, I think most of the time what I'm building a framework around right now is how to really understand where you are in like a quote unquote level of consciousness, and then make decisions based on that level of consciousness, and be able to slow down and understand why you're making the decision, how it's actually going to affect something. And then does it actually feel good? Because I got, how many people I got that are millionaires that would way rather have slowed down, and stayed at, $250,000 a year. Right. But because they were like, oh, I got to hit the next goal, to hit the next goal, they like completely get out of alignment. And we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
People that are out of alignment, everything in their life starts falling apart, including, if you procrastinate, it's because you're out of alignment. So anyways, I know I'm all over the place.
I wanted to touch on that. Because people don't have to get out of alignment, and they don't have to stress themselves and overwork themselves to get to that $1 million, multi-million-dollar business. Like, there's ways to create that without losing our integrity with our values and ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, the path might be a little slower, right? I think a lot of time people feel like there's a gun to their head. And sometimes, I was $1 million in debt 7 years ago. So there's quite literally a gun to my head back then. It really was. I almost went to jail because of that. So there was a gun to my head. But most people don't get in that situation, right? Most people, that's about, most people, they might be 50,000 in debt or $200,000 in debt or like whatever. Right? And, but they assimilate it as being like a gun to their head.
Yeah.
And you got to think about, like, entrepreneurship is like a lifetime game. Like, I'm 28 right now. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 7, 8 years old. So I've been in this 20 years. And like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur for the rest of my life. So, why try to speed things up? The more you speed things up, and this is not to say that, I help lots of people 10x their business in a year, in 18 months. But there's like a lot of the time, people try to build a business because they're trying to prove to themselves that they can do it, or they don't love themselves, or they there's a lot of emotional reasoning why someone's building a business so quickly. And it's typically not because, oh, that's their strategic move. Like, we need to be at this point. Like, most people aren't thinking, oh, I need to be right here when the economy is right. Like, most people don't have enough foresight or even experience. Not even foresight. It's not even foresight, like experience. To be able to be like, oh, I'm building the business in order to be able to hear. Most people are like, no, I want to get to like 1 million. And then I'm like, okay, well, why do you want to get to 1 million? And they have no good answer. They're like, I want to impact the world. And I'm like, bullshit. Bullshit. I don't give a shit. Because my belief is, until you earn the ability to impact, you can't say that that's the reason you wake up. Right. Yeah. So like, I was in Necker Island last year with Richard Branson. I'm looking around. I'm like, you know what? This dude's like earned the fact that he can like impact anything. Like, he clicks his fingers, anything happens. Right. And so a lot of us, I think, I hear the word impact and all the time. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I know there's no human that gets to a higher level of consciousness and it becomes a multimillionaire that doesn't start impacting other people. And you can be like, oh, this billionaire, this and that and everything else. I'm like, if you're watching this, you're never going to become a multimillionaire and be like, oh, I'm going to go buy like 3 tigers. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably not the case. And so my belief is, it's so important to be able to be selfish at the beginning of entrepreneurship and be able to take care of yourself. And yes, do that from a place of being able to serve others and help others. But get clear on why you actually want to make as much money as you actually want to make. And that could be a simple, super easy exercise. Start writing down, what do you want your dream life to cost you per month, right? Start here. I want to live in this house. I want to live in this, and have it on a piece of paper, whatever that amount is. Because until you get to that level and you've taken care of yourself, you can never do what I call is pure support. So if I get on a phone call with somebody, and this is the most amazing thing I've ever been able to get to. When I get on a phone call with somebody and they want to work with me, it literally does it from a bank account perspective. I can come to them with pure support and see what I best can help them with, even if that's not me, because I'm fully taken care of. And that is that is one by far one of the most powerful things that you can bring to entrepreneurship, is when you can bring pure support, you are, it's really powerful for the people you help. And that's when that's when the impact really starts, is when you can, like Bill Gates or whoever, like when they can give with a place of pure support. And they can show up in a place where it's like, whatever how can I help? And it doesn't impact me whatsoever because I have all my needs taken care of.
Damn. I want to talk about the frameworks that you've developed, because I think that's something that's really unique. A lot of people are trying to figure out how to live their life and be their best self. And I feel like these frameworks are things that you have assembled because of lessons that you've learned and ways that you've seen the world. And now you're sharing that with people. What has changed about how you see the world and your values as you evolve from each framework through each framework?
Well, I mean, so there's right now there's 3 frameworks. I'm working on the 4th one. I won't talk about that one today, but I've actually had 4 frameworks. 5 frameworks to the next one. So that could get confusing. But so first off, like in 2015, I created this methodology called the SSF method, which was all about messaging, right? So it was all about how to have the right messaging at the right time. That's tactical. There's no strategy there. That's just purely tactical, Then the ROI method came along, and the ROI method was all about, okay, here's a strategy in order to be relevant, omnipresent, and, intimate, so that instead of you having to, do slimy sales, you find the perfect customers, they want to pay you. And, it doesn't even require a sales conversation. It's almost like order taking, like, they're so bought into you that you never have to get on a phone and try to do a sales call. So again, that was more strategy and tactics. And then after that, I created the 6-pillar framework, which is the kind of the piece of my upcoming book that's coming out in June, The Nuclear Effect. And that was about, if you want to create the currency of money, currency of time, the currency of audience, and the currency of influence, like relationships, then you need a business that is running on these 6 pillars. And you need to have a process and understanding of how to make it so that these pillars work, because that's the only way you're going to get to a multiple 7-figure business without killing yourself. So that book and that framework was about, okay, strategy, tactics, and some more mindset. So then I created the REwired framework. And that one's still a little bit in process, but that's essentially saying, hey, listen, you're an entrepreneur. Let's forget about the tactics. Let's forget about the strategies. If your mindset isn't right, and think about it this way, if you don't love yourself, you're going to have a hard time getting on a phone call and actually being present with that other person, right? Which is going to decrease how much sales you can do. If you don't trust yourself, your marketing funnel is never going to work because you're never going to get it done. If you don't trust others, you're never going to hire a team, which means you're going to work 80 hours a week. Everything that happens in a strategic way, like any problem that you see in your business, it's purely mindset. Purely mindset. There's nothing in your business, absolutely nothing, including the fact that, the economy's going down and all this type of stuff. Is just like, if you have fear, you're going to buy into that, and then you're going to not look for opportunities. You're going to look for, all the bad things. So really, at the end of the day, as I've, ended up kind of becoming more conscious myself, I went from more, all right, let me take everything that I've learned and let me start adding, components to it. And then my next framework is how, on 6 levels of consciousness, how to understand how to market to someone based on their level of consciousness, how to create a business based on your level of consciousness, and then how to hire and create systems based on your level of consciousness and where you're doing. So anyways, that's really, that's really those frameworks. You can, of course, if you're listening to this, you can go to scottoldford.com and they're all kind of there in order to be able to get access to. But I think overall it was just, as time went on, the acceleration accelerated as I started working with more people, because up until 2015, I had agencies and other business, I had software as a service. I didn't coach anyone, mentor anybody, anything like that until 2015. And I launched my first course in 2015, and I thought it was like a dumb idea. I was like, this is not going to work. No one's going to buy a course from me. Like, this is, because you got to think about it, 2015, I was like still, $700,000-ish in debt. So I'm like, who the heck wants to learn from this guy, right? Which I think is the problem with failure sometimes, is that you underestimate the fact that, like, someone that's failed is the best person to learn from. They got a lot more than the successful person to be able to teach you.
Damn. I want to talk about your growth as an entrepreneur. You said you've been doing it since you were 7. Some people have not put in 20 years or 15, 20 years, and they're wanting to create the success that you've created. What did you gain in that time that allows you to succeed, and what can they implement in their own life that you got through sheer time, but they can do it in a more efficient, effective way?
You can condense time really quickly by a couple of things. Number one is really working on your mindset, right? Like 2018, 2019, I did thousands of hours of therapy, like all different types of modalities, not your typical, scientific therapy, more on the spiritual side than on the, science-y side. That probably gave me an extra 30 years of mindset work, really, at the end of the day. And given the fact it allowed me, and at the same time, I still built a business that did $10 million, more than that. So I'd say that number one is most of the reason why your business isn't where it is has nothing to do with the fact that you don't know how to run a business. Most people need to forget about the fact that they're an entrepreneur and they just need to go help people. Right? People get so concerned with well, what does my finance sheet need to look like? I'm like, well, listen, it doesn't matter if you don't have any money in order to actually put on there. So you figure that out later. I think people overcomplicate everything. Number two, so first is mindset. Number two is you gotta, and this is why I love mentoring. I love mentoring people. You gotta find a mentor. You gotta find a mentor that's not a coach, right? There's a difference between a coach and a mentor. Okay. Yeah. And you need them both technically. I have a coach and I have mentors. A coach does not have to be the job of a coach is not to be a mentor. And the job of a coach is essentially to listen to you, keep you accountable, keep, basically a cheerleader in many ways, right?
Right.
Cheerleader, and be able to talk through your mindset and that type of thing, right? So like the NFL player does not need a coach that was also an NFL player, right? Then so I'm not a coach, you know what I mean? I don't coach people. I mentor people. I'm not there to be, I'm there to be their cheerleader, but I'm not going to I'm not going to be, when it comes to mentoring, it's about, hey, listen, I've done this multiple times. Yeah. What's up? I'll tell you exactly, not what you should do, but here's like 3 options of what you could do. And here's the one I would do. And I think Todd Herman, I quoted him in my book. He's a good friend of mine. And he's also he mentored me back in 2018 on my mindset a little bit, and we became friends from there. And, his whole thing was, if you want to get something really quick, find somebody that's already done it. You know what I mean? And it's so much simpler. So what I've learned is mostly my mindset. And yes, I have strategies and all the tactics, blah, 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 blah. That stuff doesn't matter. You can learn most of that stuff on YouTube. It's the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to do this and actually doing it. It's the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to have integrity to my word, and I'm going to go and actually do what I say I'm going to do. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go in alignment, even if it sucks. Even if alignment means I need to have a divorce, I need to, never talk to my parents anymore. I mean, I have so many people that are like, oh, I'm afraid, and I see this especially at, under the $25,000 a month. Oh, I'm afraid to post on Facebook because my family is like, fuck your family, right? And so a lot of people try to like step in the like please their parents. Yeah. If you want to please your parents, you're already lost the fucking game. And then, you want to be as, I'm always like, listen, if you want to model your parents, how successful are your parents? And I mean, this one works. There's 0.3% of the population that this doesn't work, but 99.7% of the time, your parents are not as successful as you want to be. Yeah. And so modeling them and caring about what they think is a useless endeavor. And I come from a family of people that very much helped me, respected me, allowed me to do whatever the heck I wanted to do. Never held me back, never said shit. My parents still aren't on Facebook, so it doesn't even fucking matter. But overall, I'm a massive believer in mentorship, really upgrading your mindset. And you just really got to stop thinking about you just really got to stop caring what other people think. And you probably need to stop looking at the news feed and trying to stop having all the people tell you what you need to do and listen to your gut. Like Robert Downey Jr. I listened to this about a month ago. He was on Joe Rogan podcast. It was so good. And it was like, and I felt this, and you would experience this too. It was like, in life, there's like this invisible line that kind of guides you, and you can like go way off to the left and way off to the right and like way off from that, but somehow you'll end up coming back to this invisible line. And the more that you do what your gut and is in alignment, the more this invisible line like pulls you. And the more you develop a relationship with like this invisible line, the more, the life just becomes, I'm living a fucking movie script right now, man. And like, it feels like that. And it only started happening like that when I was like, you know what? I don't actually know what the heck's going on. You know what? Hey, stomach, hey, intuition, guide me. I'm surrendered. Yeah. Let's do this. But it's not me.
Dude, I love it. People oftentimes are not connected to that intuition and willing to let go of like the identity and stuff that they've built up until now. How do you encourage people who you mentor to do that, to let go of that stuff?
Well, it's a process, right? It takes time. Can I say that I'm like fully surrendered? No, I think it's a process of like a lifetime. I think one of the best writings about it was a Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. Yeah. That book, I send that book to every single one of my clients. It's just one of the best books ever. I think it's just like, you let go a little bit and then you say, oh, you know what? It wasn't so bad. And you let go a little bit more. Oh, it's not so bad. And so it's kind of this process of being able to let go. It's hard. It's a lot easier when you're already successful to do it, right? So I'm gonna say I became successful, then I like kind of let go. So I'm the last person to say, hey, listen, I was broke, and then I let go, and it happened, right? I had elements of that.
Yeah.
But it's really only been a small period of my life where I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't know what's actually. I don't really know what's going on. So I'm just gonna let it was falling in love with my now wife. That was the real beginning, and this was 2.5 years ago. It was that really taught me to surrender at the beginning, and then I kind of brought it over to the rest of my life, and I was like, oh well, that was a good place to surrender, and I did, and good things happened. So let me do that more places, and that actually led me to selling / closing down my business that was doing incredibly well in 2019. To be like, you know what, let me just get purely in alignment, even if it's a little fucking crazy. Well, and I think the other thing is, I think one of the most effective mindsets I have is that, like, and I think anybody can adopt this, is like, just because you build something, you can build something again and again and again and again. Like, holding on to something, because and so many entrepreneurs they hold on, they have this great, like, bird, which is their business, and they hold on too tight, and then they kill the bird. And so many people do that. And I think secondarily, a lot of people, they desire success so much that they like repel it, because it assumes that it's not possible, because they want it so bad, right? When you want something so badly, in my opinion, you're telling the universe, well, there's so much not of that. There's so lack of money. There's so lack of success that, how could I ever have that? And you focus too much attention on it. See that a lot.
Damn. Dude, this is good. This is good. So
I don't know if this is good or bad. I mean, I've been starting to talk more on this stuff versus like, oh, here's the funnel that went here. Like,
right.
No, funnel doesn't fucking matter. Like, it really doesn't.
No.
Really doesn't. I've built business after business with no funnel. You just gotta help people, and you worry about the funnel after. And I mean, that's the worst thing I could ever say, because I'm the guy that teaches you how to do all the funnel. So, but like, overall, it's not about the funnel. And it's not about the marketing. It's not about anything in business is never about the strategy of it. Just to give you a version of, in my model of consciousness, most entrepreneurs are in willful consciousness. If you're making any level of money, you're in willful consciousness.
Okay.
Then above that is intellectual consciousness. So think about it this way. So most people that are having a 9-to-5 job, they're in reactive consciousness. Like 80% plus of the world are in reactive consciousness, or primitive consciousness, in between there. And then above that is willful consciousness. So the willful consciousness is like, Gary Vaynerchuk is a fucking poster kid. Willful consciousness. And that's totally cool. That's not, his whole job right now that he's doing in social media is to take reactive people in their 20s and bring them into willfulness. Right. Which is why, like, if you're already in willful, or you're above willful, you look at Gary Vaynerchuk and you're like, and Grant Cardone, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, no, and you might have followed Gary when you were like in more of a reactive right at the beginning of willful. And then like one day you're like, wow, this really doesn't resonate. Right. So then above that is the intellectual, which is like, okay, I'm not going to work 14 hours a day. I'm going to work 6. I'm going to hire a team. I'm going to outsource. I'm going to do this. So most business is done in willful and intellectual. And then above that is intuitive. Right. So that's kind of like where I'm trying to build my business from. And it's doing a pretty good job so far. And which is basically like, let's fuck and you can't really, it's hard to do business in intuitive if you haven't gone through willful and intellectual. I will say that. But it's kind of like, you know what, screw the year plan, screw the 90-day plan. Like, I mean, I literally have very little plans. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. Let's do this. And I don't recommend most people doing that in business. I think it's much easier to make money and do business in willful and intellectual. And then once you've kind of mastered that, then I feel automatically ascend that level of consciousness over time. And you might have to blow up some businesses and do some shit in between. And so that's a Numa. That's the Numa. I said I wasn't going to share it, but fuck that. It really comes down to it really comes down to knowing which level of consciousness you're in, and once, like, primitives know better than intuitive. It's just different. and our world is definitely raising its baseline of consciousness, overall. And yeah, I think that's important just to think about. And also you got to be very careful on, if you're an intellectual, you can't be listening to Gary. You got to be listening to someone that's an intellectual or an intuitive, because if you have intuition, think about it this way: if you have intuition without willful and intellectual, you typically don't make any money. Okay, lots of spiritual gurus can't make a dollar, right? If you have willful built on top of intellectual, built upon top of intuitive, well, now you have a powerful combination, because your intuition can work with your intuitiveness, and you can flow in and out of willful times.
What do you feel is the biggest gap in willful consciousness that takes people from reactive to successful willful consciousness? What needs to be there? Probably mindset, but is there specific dials and levers that we could be transforming?
Yeah. Well, you gotta think about this in the form of like everything that you do in life, right? So it's like you would never not have a scarcity. Excuse me. You'd never have a scarcity timer on someone that you're selling that's intuitive, right? It just doesn't work. But you don't have a timer on a reactive. Like if you're selling to reactive people and you don't have a sales timer and scarcity, no one's gonna buy it. Yeah. Okay, because reactive's like right, and then willful's like the pecking hen, right? You know what I mean? It's just like pack, let's go, right? So in order to like sort of like ascend upwards, I've noticed that the easiest way to ascend upwards is just let the pattern kind of happen. And you might be in that willfulness I was in willfulness for pretty much most of my life. Yeah. I think I actually went from willful to more, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in intellectual, because I just, I don't, most data I just don't believe in. I'm just like, just because it's that now doesn't mean it's going to, I think I've defied the odds so many times where I'm like, that doesn't really matter. Like we can change the facts. The facts are easy to change. Right. But I don't think that that's an easy thing to do unless you've been, that's been your life's path. Yeah. So dude, not sure if that was helpful, but
it is. So I saw a post that you made talking about how most people are focusing on like social media and building their company, and if they're not earning $10,000 a month or more, like the big focus is to just go help people and go serve people. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what is the ethos, the mindset behind that list that you created, and how it flows?
So I get so I have unconditional love, or I try to have an unconditional love for everybody in this world, right? But a lot of time I get so frustrated with people that are making less than $10,000 a month, because it's almost like this like literal barrier, okay? Because once someone makes more than $10,000 a month, they're making like $50,000 like 3 months later. Yeah. Like really weird that I've noticed. And if you're listening to this and it's not the fact that it's not like I don't like you or anything like that. It's just the fact that like I become frustrated about how much complexity you feel it takes to make $10,000 a month. So it was written because I'm writing these different things right now, like what you need to do when you're making less than six figures, what you're making when you're at $500,000, what you're making at 1 million. Like basically, like here's everything you need to know. Yeah. And I just I just started off with that one because most people are making less than $10,000 a month in the world. So the truth is, if you're making less than 10,000, you don't need a website, you don't need a marketing funnel, you don't need to really do much of anything. You just need to actually be like, okay, who am I going to be relevant to? Why am I going to be relevant to them? How do I get in front of them? What positioning do I need to have in order for them to actually see me? What offer makes them say yes? What offer makes me happy? What offer puts money in the bank account? And how quickly can I do this? And then start having conversations with people. When in 2013, so in 2011, I sold my company to avoid going bankrupt. So it wasn't like, I sold it for $1 plus them paying my debt payments. So it wasn't like some, people are always like, how much money you make? I was like, nothing. $1. You know what I mean? One loony in Canada.
It was glorious.
Yeah, exactly. One loony. And I was making like I was getting paid like $2,500 a month from this company. Like I sold it and I was only getting $2,500 a month. Because the debt payments were like, I don't know, 12 or 13 grand. So I was living on like $2,500. Which, you know, basically minimum wage in Canada. I think it was around that. And those are Canadian dollars, not US. So it's like, you know, what, $3 US. and so I did that for about a year, and then I got super depressed. I remember I used to go to work with a fucking pipe and smoke weed in the car before going in. And it was not a good time at all. It was probably the closest to depression. I hate using that word because I feel like I see a lot of people that are really truly far more depressed than I ever was. And so I hate using that word, but it was a very dark place for me. And then one day I was like, you know what? I can't keep doing this, you know? And it was kind of like that, almost like alignment. Like I felt the thread and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. Don't know how I'm going to be able to pay for all this debt and like everything else, but I'm going to do it. So I went out, went from that. I went and I talked to every single person. I was in St. John's, Newfoundland in Canada at this point. I went and I talked to every person that would take a meeting with me. Right. Because beforehand, I had a marketing agency and that type of thing. And I literally just listened to them and was like, okay, cool. So it sounds like you got this. I mean, I was doing websites. I was doing commercials. I was doing billboard. I mean, there was nothing that someone could be like, hey, do you do this? I'm like, yep, I'll do that. You know, hey, I'll do that. I'll figure that out. Most of the time I had no idea how the heck I was going to pull it off. And that's what I did. And so and this is what I pull it off, meaning, and I want to make sure that people know this, like, not from a perspective, I didn't have the skill. You know, I understood these concepts. It wasn't like I was a brand new entrepreneur, and a lot of people now selling social media marketing and have no idea what to actually do. That wasn't the case. More so, how am I going to take care of all of these things? And so I made $250,000 in 1 month.
Damn.
1 month in contracts. So revenue generated. And that I had no website. I didn't have a company name. I didn't have a company name for another 6 months. I didn't know what I was going to call it. Nothing. I didn't have a website. I didn't have shit. I didn't have a business card. I didn't have anything. I went to the business meetings. I would just do them all in the same place because I didn't have enough gas money. Honest to God, didn't have enough gas money. And I mean, most days I had like, less than $50 in my bank account. Fully maxed out credit cards, fully maxed out everything. In 2013, I'm pretty sure my power went out twice because I couldn't pay the power bill. Or 2012 or 2013, one of it. I mean, it was bad times. I remember it was winter. I put all my food in the fucking
snow
outside in the snow. Yeah. So it was hard times. It was hard. And that was, that was, 7-8 years ago. That was not long ago. And so, and I think that's the other thing is like, it doesn't matter where you are, you can be somewhere completely different. I was talking to someone yesterday. They just started work with me. And, 3 years ago they had a job and now they have a business doing $100,000 a month. First time entrepreneur, so it's possible. It's all possible. I don't even know what your question was. I ended up on a path. And that's the problem with interviews is sometimes I just end up, if I'm not talking about something specific, I just end up going all over the place.
It was the $10,000 a month mindset.
Oh yeah. So, okay. So basically I told that story to say that it really get in front of people, get their attention, show them that you're relevant, and then give them an offer. Then help them. And then actually deliver what you said you would.
Yeah.
You're going to make money.
What is it that most people overcomplicate that process? They think that they need to be doing all these different things. They don't have dialed in those 8 steps you mentioned.
Well, okay. So anytime that you don't know anything about it, like anytime that you're in a place where like you've never done something before, it's easy for me to say because I've built so many businesses, right? So it's really easy for me to say, oh, all that's bullshit. But like when you're doing it the first time, you don't know what's bullshit. Right. So, you don't know if you see everybody else with a website. So you're like, oh, well, I need to spend money on a website. You see everybody else doing this thing. So when I was 16, I had $1 million business. And then I started looking at everybody else and I was like, oh, I need like an office and I need this. And I went from having like a 70% profit margin down to 20 in a year because I thought I needed to be like everybody else. Yep. Right. And so, worst thing, when I was 16, I won all these awards and people are like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I mean, sure. And what's that? And, looked it up. And then, I think that was the worst thing that ever happened because I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, no. No, you help people, right? You help people and you get paid for it. Let's worry about that. And then let's forget about everything else right now. And I think that that's what most people need to do at the $10,000 a month markets. Forget being an entrepreneur. Just go out and help people. You can be an entrepreneur later. And I think people just want things way too quickly. I think like you got like it's an overnight success that takes 15 years. Almost every time. And there's anomalies to that. Yeah. But in my case, I'm so far off the scale of what someone has for a typical life because, I never went to university. I never went to college. I hated school. Like school just didn't make sense to me. I have so many learning disabilities. Like I'm really good at a couple things and then I suck at fucking everything. But most people's life, most people's paths, you got to look at like, it's going to take years and it's going to be tough. And it's not going to be easy, but it's a lot easier if you actually follow your intuition and your alignment. And it's kind of like you learn the lessons and then you integrate them much more quickly and easily than if you're like, okay. And this is why I stopped giving like direct business model advice, right? Where I'm like, all right, everyone should do this. And I'm like, I see a lot of people do that. I used to do that. I was like, that's a dumbass move for someone to say, hey, you should do this. I know nothing about you, but you should do this business model. I don't know if you like one-on-ones. I don't know if you like group coaching. I don't know if you like doing in-person things. Like your businesses should be a reflection of what you enjoy to do, not what like works.
Damn. I feel a lot of people have that try to do everything, try to be good at everything mindset. How did you, or how would you recommend that they give up that trying to do everything and stay focused on the core things and be okay with sucking at other things?
You got to do what you like. I mean, a lot of people are like, as you build a business, you end up having to do sometimes things. It's kind of like if 80% of the time you're doing things that you like that's a good time. As life goes on, you have the opportunity to do more and more of what you like. I don't know the last time I've done something that I actually haven't liked work-wise. It's probably why it's so easy. Yeah, I'm actually thinking. And not since when I had the business in 2018, 2019, I was way below the 80-20 rule. Because it wasn't if something's not in alignment, you're not going to be able to get that 80-20. But how do you give that up? I think for me, like again, it's a listening to your gut thing where you're like, I probably shouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? Like, like for example, I love Facebook ads. Like I've spent millions of dollars of my own money on Facebook ads and like literally I've managed it myself. Dumb fucking idea. And because I actually suck at it, right? But I enjoy it. Like I enjoy it. Like I know that I pay a premium because I'm not like optimizing things and doing all the things I know you should do. I not do, but I'm like, I just love going in there and fucking around. And so like, and I've gotten good at it. I've gotten good at that because I enjoy it. Building a team, I suck at that, and I don't do it. You know what I mean? And like I can give I mentor a lot of people on doing it, but like I know how to do it. I just don't want to do it. Like I don't like managing people. You know what I mean? Like that does not light me up. That is like the opposite of lighting me up. And so I have the option of people. I see a lot of advice of like, oh well, and when you're the CEO or the founder, you got to start doing things you don't really enjoy. And I think that's when you're going against your alignment of like where you're supposed to be in the company, because there's people out there that fucking love managing people. And there's people out there that love managing finance. Like they literally, that is like their life path to manage your finances. And it's not yours. And so I think the other thing is people bring that whole lack mentality. Well, I don't have enough money to hire this out or that out or whatever it might be. And I'm like, listen, if you have just joy and love and everything of what you do, you're just the most attractive, radiant person in the whole fucking world. And people just want to be around that. Yep. people rarely buy because they logically need what you're selling. They buy because the way that they feel, because of the way that they can vicarious in the personal brand world. People, we buy because, if someone buys from me, they're like, oh, wow, Scott's doing something better than I'm at. I like his personality. I resonate with his, that, like those different types of things. Logically, when someone pays me with one-on-one, and when someone pays me a boatload of money, $250,000 a year to work with me one-on-one, it is not a logical decision. Any financial advisor would talk them out of that, right? But somebody is getting an experience that I can only give if I'm fully me, and I'm only good at what I'm good at and not good at what I'm not good at. If one of those people are like, hey, can you look at my finances? I'm like, no, I'm going to give you my finance people, and you're going to hire them because those people are going to be able to take care of you. Damn. So you don't have to be, you don't honestly in life, you don't actually have to be good at that many things at all. Like you can be pretty shit at pretty much everything. You just got to be good at a couple of things.
It's like going back to find who you want to be around, the person that you want to spend your time with, and then solving their problems, right? Having real sincere conversations where you're actually interested in what you're talking about. And like when that happens, you can't fake that connection. You can't fake that authenticity and that care of like, this is important to me to talk about Facebook ads. It's important to me to talk about, your copywriting. It's important to me to talk about whatever. Like that's what I think people get to give themselves permission to do.
And not to be, I don't think you have, I don't love, okay, so, and here's a massive part, okay?
Yeah.
I don't I love the process of what I do. I don't love what I do, okay? And I think that this is important because people are like, oh, do what you love, turn your hobbies or turn the things you love to do into your business. I'm like, I guarantee you if you do that, you will no longer love them. Okay, so, but here's the truth.
Yeah.
You make money when you do things on repeat. Repetition makes money. Innovation, you don't make $1. Okay.
Wow.
So you've got to fall in love with the process and find your fun love of life, like other places too, but enjoy the process of what you're doing, making it so that a lot of people, I think they have unrealistic expectations of what their business is supposed to do for them. Your business is not supposed to replace love or fun or hobbies or all the things that you enjoy doing. That's not the job of the business. And so a lot of people get that mixed up and they're like, well, for me, I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not in a good romantic relationship. So let me go over to the business. Oh, you know what? I haven't taken time to I can't sit in a room by myself alone and meditate for an hour. So let me go to the business. And so most of the time businesses allow people to basically bypass developing themselves, developing relationships, developing what they actually like, and all these different types of things. And a business is okay. Yeah, let me go in and enjoy the process of the business. Let me find it. There's a fun in the game of the business. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I got my first $50,000 month. Cool. Let's keep going. And not making it about oh my God, it's $50,000 a month. Isn't that the coolest fucking thing in the world? And oh my God, I must be so amazing because of that. And look at me and look, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going to go on Facebook and tell everyone about my $50,000 a month. So everyone else can, so I can prove to everyone else that I'm good. I can prove to my mom that she can love me. I can prove to my dad that, blah, 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 blah. Right. That shit's fucking toxic. And so, I think it's really important to be in that love of the process. Gary Vaynerchuk says this, and Gary got a lot of good shit, but Gary says this is you got to fall in love with the process, and it's really important for my own life because it creates a complete lack of balance. Not that life's balanced, but it creates a complete lack of balance and an unrealistic expectation of the job of your business. The job of your business is simple. Help other people make money. We can use the vision statements and, all that stuff's bullshit. Yeah. Help people make money. Yeah. That is what your business is supposed to be for. We don't need to love people and we can do that outside of business.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the time, that's what people get stuck on. And they think it's bad to make money or bad to people got a lot of wrong stuff around money. Right. And so that stops them from actually making it.
Yeah, dude. I want to talk about going into this next year. Like, what do you feel is most important for you to do, to embody, to live, so that you create the maximum success, fulfillment, impact that you're committed to?
It's a good fucking question. I don't know. If I'm being honest, I don't know. That one's still I'm still figuring that one out. But what I do know is, everything I'm kind of doing these days, is really, so I'm just getting a little Palo Santo going here. And not trying to like burn my fingers off. So everything coming into this year, I was like, you know what? No goals. Fuck goals. I have no goals. Zero goals. Goals for intuitive people suck, right? Willful intellectual, you don't got goals, you got a problem. Reactive people, they get scared of goals, and then it puts them into like a reactive patterning, right? So I'm like, all right, don't really want goals. So let's do intentions. Let's figure out what's the intention. So intention this year is profit. I've made a lot of money, haven't kept most of it, being completely honest, right? So this year is a lot about me becoming an investor. And a lot about profitability, right? Like my business now got 80% plus profitability rate, which is fucking amazing. So number one's profit. Number two is peace, right? So doing things that like really allow me to have like peace and feel good and like ease, right? And presence would be the third one, right? Being able to direct my attention and awareness everywhere I am, being able to direct my attention and awareness to this moment right here. There's not any future, there's no past. It is what it is. Everything in business comes down to presence, awareness, and attention. Everything, marketing, sales, operation, like everything comes down to those three things. People don't think about it that way. But if you don't have presence, you can't have awareness. And if you don't have awareness, you don't know where your attention's going. So it's like they all work together to make it so it's much easier. So don't have much of a business plan anymore. Launching a book. So that's the thing. Just helping people. Getting back to what I said. The same thing that happens at 10,000 a month is the same thing that happens at 200,000 or 300, 400, 500,000 a month. Like, still help people. People complicate it and try to create these crazy business models and all these different types of things. But launching a podcast about the future, the future very, very, very much blows me away because, I want to create it. Right. And I think, I had somebody that was kayaking past I'm on the ocean right here. And someone's kayaking. I was like, whoa, what's going on? Who's coming to my window? So yeah, I think for me, it's like those intentions. And then asking myself before I do something, okay, does that give me more peace? Does that give me more presence? Does it give me more profit? The 3 P, really. I had the passion, but I've dropped that as an intention because I think if you just take care of those 3 and live a good life, you're passionate about it. So, anyways, I don't know if that's helpful for anybody, but I think a lot of the time goals put so much pressure on us, and secondarily. What I found about goals is that like I can't depict, like I don't know what the universe is going to put in front of me. I don't know what person I'm going to sit next to that changes my life. I don't know. I get some crazy shit that happens to me in the last couple of years. You know what I mean? Like that I would never be able to like even imagine. And so I think that keeping that space open and not saying this is what I want and everything else can go screw itself. Yeah, I think that's really potent and powerful.
For the people who are at 10,000 a month, 100,000 a month, how important or what would you recommend around meditation and around like creating that spaciousness, reconnecting themselves? Like talk on that just a bit.
Most of the time, I'll say this, most of the time, if you take more time for yourself, you first off, even if you're really busy, most people, if they're working like 12 hours a day, they could probably do most of it in 6 hours, but their mental capacity, they're not working out, they're not taking time for themselves. Listen, meditation, if you're not really like into meditation and don't want to do it, like you just fucking, it doesn't matter how many people like me tell you to do it, you're not going to do it. You're just not, you're going to be like, nah, that's stupid. Right. Yeah. Because I was used to be one of those people. I do like what I actually like more, and this is my company REwired. This is what we do is kind of not really meditation. It's based on hypnotherapy.
Mm.
So drop down the theta state, get your bullshit alpha and beta state out.
Yeah.
That tells you all the wrong things, your consciousness, get that gone, right? Let's get to the subconscious. And then, I find that you can listen to a lot of these recordings. I do it live. My company, we do it, live essentially with people. I find that's more effective than meditation because it's like meditation with a purpose. And I think that's really, that is a step before meditation that's easier to follow. Because what I find with meditation is it's like, oh yeah, okay, just sit down and just do nothing. And most, especially entrepreneurs, don't know how to fucking do that. Right? Like think about nothing. How do I think about, how do I think about nothing? How do I think about, and you just end up in la la land, not the la la land you want. So I think hypnotherapy, and you can just go online and Google and, or you buy the person I'm partnered with, Grace Smith, they have all these recordings and that's a thing super inexpensive. And I've been doing hypnotherapy for probably, 2 hours live a week for the last year. Like with the person I work with, and then, a couple hours, that in like recordings. And I'm to the point now where I can do it in my head as I'm doing it for myself. And, but yeah, if it does call to you, don't do it. Like I think that's the biggest thing I always give, anybody's advice. If your intuition feels good about something, go do it.
Yeah.
But if your intuition doesn't say yes, it doesn't matter how much you're just willing your way to meditation, which is like the entire opposite point.
Gold. I love it. Scott, you're fucking powerhouse, man. Let's tell them how they can stay connected with you. What are the next steps they can take, brother?
Yeah. So you probably just Google me. Be honest, Scott Oldford, or you just go scottolford.com, and then from there you can, all the different things. I'm sure.
You mean Scott, you're relevant, you're omnipresent, and you're intimate? Is that like what?
I mean, I try to live what I preach. Not always the easiest because, for various reasons, but I try. But yeah, I mean, listen, if book's coming out in June, but I mean, I got so much online content. People seem to like it. I keep on showing up every day, being my authentic self, and more people are like, "Oh, that's cool," and I'm like, "Wow, cool, sweet. Well, let's keep doing that." And so it's a fun experience. This life is
awesome. So everyone, go to www.scottoldford.com, and that's SCOTTOLDFORD.com, and check out the ROI method.com as well. And Scott, you're a legend, man. Thank you for just being yourself. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. See you soon, okay?
See you soon.